I don't know if you told me your strength at any point in our correspondence. Did you?
No, no, actually, I'm pretty much the exact same strength as you, which is kind of fun.
Oh, great.
I have floated between 1 and 2 Dan on Fox for the past 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically the time that I've gotten back into the game. So, haven't made like a lot of improvement, but haven't gotten any worse either, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Have you been stuck at this rank for a while, or are you fairly recently?
No. So kind of my Go story is that, I guess we can go there, is I started playing in middle school, and I was taught by just a youth director at my church. And he was the only one I've ever played in real life up until this past year who knew how to play, who I hadn't taught. So I kind of I fell into KGS at the time. Are you cool with me just like talking about my story, or I'm not answering your original question?
I'd love to get into it. Let me welcome the people, the good people to the show. You're listening to Starpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board. Yeah, I tried to do a little bit. I like the cold opens, but before we get too deep into your story, let's. But I'd love to start with that though. That's a great place to start. Okay. So go on ahead. Yeah.
Sure. So, taught by a youth director, he like moved away a year later. So I had only ever played against people who were like 30Q. And I really liked the game. Didn't have anyone to play with in real life. Found KGS. And this was, I don't remember what year it was, but I do remember I looked up Go on YouTube. The only person I could find was Nick Sabicki. And at the time he had 44 hour-long videos, and I was like, how am I ever possibly going to watch 44 hours worth of content on this silly game? And now if you look nowadays, I don't know, it's something like 400 episodes, which is absolutely insane.
It's like a factor of 10 larger.
Yeah, I know. So like for new players coming into it now, that's got to be incredibly overwhelming.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't look at the library and immediately think I need to watch all of this. But,
yeah, that's true.
One thing I forgot. By the way, everyone, this is Wyatt. He's a listener of the show, and I'm having him on as a guest today to talk about all sorts of Go stuff. So, hey, Wyatt.
Hi. Nice to meet you, everybody.
Yeah. I have a question for your origin. Could you repeat? Sorry, I might have missed it. How you initially found out about it? It was through a church leader, or?
Yep. It was like a youth leader at my local church that he taught lessons every Wednesday, like youth group every Wednesday, and he was into it. So he taught all the kids at the church. We played against each other a little bit.
What was your initial impression of the game?
I thought it was absolutely super cool. I was frustrated because I lost a bunch at first against people who, like, I assumed were not as smart as me. Like, they weren't as good at school as I was, but they just, like, absolutely crushed me at this board game, and it was super frustrating. So I really wanted to get good. It was like that experience of, like, losing and then wanting to be better, you know?
So you were kind of immediately hooked, would you say?
Yes, immediately. Yeah, and so I went home, and I, like I said, Googled it, found the Nick Sabicki lectures, found old KGS, and I played only online until this last year. So for the first, 15 years of my Go career, I had never played over the board unless it was someone that I had personally taught.
Wow. Did you at least get yourself a set of stones?
I did actually, it was the youth director. He left his equipment when he moved. So it was like his plastic. They were standard size, but they were half convex plastic, like not high quality. And then my board was a piece of plywood that I had drawn a grid on with a Sharpie.
Yeah, that's.
And then eventually, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say that's the cool thing about Go is that like you don't really need anything fancy, just a big thing of wood, and although plywood can get pricey too.
Yeah, nowadays. And then eventually in college, I got my own set because I was like, I've been playing this game for already 10 years. Come on, like I gotta get my own set. But like I was saying, I never had anyone to play with in real life, so it was just kind of like I would play it a little bit and then take a break and then play it a little bit. And funnily enough, in 2019, I decided to myself, like, hey, I've never played I've spent so many hours on this game, but like I don't have any friends from this game. Like, I need to put it down because it's not a thing that I'm going to do in real life.
So did you not? Did you not have like any lingering friends from the church group that wanted to continue playing that you kept in contact with? You just kind of went off on your own after learning.
Well, none of them were interested in playing. Like, they played a handful of times, but I'm sure none of them would have ever been more than 25Q. You know?
Yeah. Okay. I see.
So yeah. I was basically the only one in that group who actually took a real interest in the game.
Yeah, I guess there's just a type of person that the game kind of latches onto and just kind of like rolls off other people's backs like water off a duck.
Yeah. There's so many people that I've tried to teach that they humor me, listen to the rules, and then they're not interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was definitely that person, though. So I was not like you in the fact that you were hooked immediately upon introduction to the game. I think I've told this story on the show before, but I was initially taught by my friend, and I humored him and played a few games with him, and I was like, this is something. Like, I don't know what this is, and I don't really know what I'm doing, but it seems that I cannot beat this guy. So I'm just gonna, politely back off from it for a while. And it was just like an experience that stayed with me, but never something that I really considered until way later.
Yeah, it's interesting how everyone has their own experience with the game, and it's like you want to tell the story too. Everyone that I've talked to wants to tell their story,
Yeah, everyone has a unique way, because it's not like one of those things like chess where, your chess, you just kind of, a lot of people don't even remember when they first learned about what chess is because it's so ubiquitous and it's just like a natural thing for it to be everywhere and everyone knows what chess is, right? But for Go, it's like when you first discover, that's almost like a special moment for everyone. A lot of Hikaru no Go stories, a lot of AlphaGo documentary stories.
Yeah. Speaking of AlphaGo, so this was like kind of the point when I was getting to the point where, like I was saying previously, I just didn't have enough people in my life who, like, I was actually making connections with playing the game. So I was going to hang up the gloves, and that's when the whole AlphaGo thing started coming out. I remember in college, like, staying up late in the middle of the night trying to watch these AlphaGo games live. It was super cool to be like a part of that moment in history, even just spectating. It was so interesting because I remember at the time all of the pros were saying, like, there's no way they can win. There's no way they can win. And I was thinking to myself, like, Google put up $1 million on this. They have to know something that, or maybe it's just an advertising stunt, who knows? But
yeah, that was, honestly, I remember not following too closely, but that was definitely another thing that kind of, I think I had a failed start before AlphaGo, and I kind of played a few games and I realized it was still pretty difficult, although I knew a little more. And then AlphaGo happened and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that game. And I was kind of lightly following along, but then it's kind of like that's also kind of like a where were you when AlphaGo happened thing, where everyone was at some point in their Go journey. So when you finally did play your first live game with someone, tell us about that.
Yeah, so like I said, kind of took a break, and just the most randomly thing, I just decided I was looking at Go again for the first time in a while. And I found this website called the Duke Club, and this is what I'm using to organize my current club. So thank you for whoever created it. But there was an 8Q player
Uh-huh.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was just I'm pretty sure Devin Fraze is the one responsible for that. I don't know what percentage of responsibility he should take, but I'm pretty sure he's a key player. Just to give a shout out to him for the Paduk Club.
Absolutely amazing site. And I found there was a 8Q player who had moved to the area, and I reached out to him, and he said, "Yeah, sure, I'll play with you." And so at this point, I had gotten to 1 Dan on TaiGem, and I looked it up. So in 2019 is when I took my break. I looked up. I got to 1 Dan on TaiGem, played 1 game at 1 Dan, and then I didn't play again until 2024 when I found out there was a person in my area who knew how to play.
You skipped COVID.
Yeah, which is crazy. In my defense, at the time, I had a small child.
Okay, makes sense. But yeah, that's funny. Everyone's getting into Go, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take a break.
Yeah, and so I met up with this guy, and we played an over-the-board game, and I was just ecstatic. Like, I was so excited to be playing in real life against someone who like knew what Tanuki and Atari meant. It was just the coolest experience.
Now, did you like email them and say like, hey, you want to meet up to play, or what? How did that work?
Yeah, I found their info on Badoo Club. I sent them an email. We met up at a local game store. And he was awesome. It was just like a super great experience. And when I had a conversation with him, he knew of another player in the area who was about the same strength as me. And I said, there's 3 of us. Do you want to make a Go Club? And he said, sure. And so the past year, we've made a Go Club, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. It took forever to get to it. Maybe I should have led with it.
Dang, that's awesome.
But like tips on how to make your own Go Club. So if that's something that you'd be interested in.
Situate us in the timeline here. So the first game happened around when?
First game happened in August, early August
of last year.
Of last year, yeah. And our club has been going since, so that's super cool. And there was actually a tournament coming up in a nearby city at the end of September. So that between playing in real life and like having a tournament to go to, that catalyzed me. I was like, you know what? We got to make this happen. So the tournament was a super fun experience. And I came back and just decided that we were going to get something set up.
That's awesome. So Paduk Club really is getting stuff started out there because actually the way I found out about the Mission Viejo Go Club, the one I've mentioned a few times on the podcast, I was reached out to by Sean, I believe, who emailed me because I have a profile on there. So he just saw that I was somewhat in the vicinity and decided to shoot an email to me. And that's how I found out about it. So it's really making connections and starting clubs, apparently.
Yeah, literally without this website, I would not be playing right now. And there's like 8-ish people who come to our club who wouldn't have a club.
You might be on like Craigslist going like, any Go players out there?
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. I wish I had something like this for 15 years ago.
Oh man, that's a long. You were in like hibernation for quite a while.
Yeah.
During that hibernation time, what servers did you usually use? Like KGS, I assume.
Yeah. So I played on KGS all the way up until like 8Q or something like that. And then I switched over to TaiGem, and then I played up to TaiGem up to 1 Dan. And then when I came back, I created an account on Fox, and I'm floating between 1 and 2 Dan on Fox since then.
Yeah, I was on TaiGem for a while too, and then the recent times I've tried, I was not able to find a game on TaiGem, and also I keep hearing things about AI cheating, or not cheating, but like legalized AI on TaiGem, and that's making me not want to go back. And also, I would have to wade through many DDKs because my rank on Tie Jam is probably really low right now. But
you can always make a new account on those ones too, right?
Oh yeah, and then reset your rank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could do that as well. That's also what stops me from KGS because I have to play bots because the question mark, no one wants to touch you.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah, but maybe one day when I get bored. Back to the club stuff. I think one of the biggest challenges in starting a club is finding a venue. So what did you guys end up deciding on?
So lucky for us, we live in Duluth, so that's a town in northern Minnesota, and it's a decent sized town. It's like the surrounding area is like 250,000 people, so there's enough people that someone's going to be playing Go. And also we have a game store that like it serves coffee and tea and stuff, and it has a bunch of tables for games. So we just use that as our venue. And so my recommendation is for like people who are interested in starting their own club, first, like check out Baduk Club. That's where you got to start. And then you want to find people to play with. And then for your venue, just pick somewhere that like people want to be at. And so a game store is perfect. I like to say my joke is my favorite part about Go Club is listening to Magic players complain about Mana Screw because that's what you hear all of the time.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they're complaining about the Go players or something.
No, you just hear, I drew 4 lands in a row, like out of the corner, the other side of the room.
Oh, man. I know that game stores are a popular venue for Go clubs because I think I can think of 2 that I've heard of. I'm pretty sure the Pasadena Go Club does that. It's another city around here. And the San Diego Go Club is also in a game room basement store type situation. Now, is the one that you're describing, is that like a game store and it has tables for playing, or is it more like a board game cafe?
It's like a board game cafe. That's a good way to describe it.
Okay. Yeah. We don't really have many of those out here in California. There's one place called Meeple's Family, which is kind of like that, but it's like a baby board game cafe. I've gone over to the East Coast in Toronto, and when I went there, I went to a couple of board game cafes, and they're fancy. Like they have like walls of board games, and they have pretzels and beer and things like that. And then they have experts to explain the rules to you. So you just kind of I don't know what level the one you're at is, but
ours is it's got like 12 tables and like a stack of games in the corner, and they like serve coffee and tea and like pastries.
Is there an admission fee?
No, but we do encourage like people who show up, like go buy something. We want them to want to keep coming back. Yeah, the
Mission Viejo Club is at a Panera Bread, and generally they all get a coffee or something like that. So yeah. Okay, so and then go ahead.
I was going to say, well, just in terms of venues, also just make sure if you can talk to an owner or a manager or something, and you're going to post it on Baduk Club or anywhere online, get permission before you post their address anywhere. Like that's just like a thing that you should definitely do, and I want to shout that out.
Yeah, it's always good to have good communication with the owner.
Right.
Okay, so you started off with a group of 3, right?
Yep.
And I assume your primary promotion for the club initially is just to post your club onto Baduk.club, right?
Yeah, and I have like a thing on Facebook, but I don't respond to people on Facebook. Like it's there as like an advertisement.
Yeah.
And then I put I did like the Hikaru no-Go classic, printed out a couple of flyers with a Sumego on it and just posted them on billboards.
How difficult did you make the Sumego?
I can't solve it. So,
why would you do that? Oh man, I would have done like a super easy Sumego, and
that probably would have been better in retrospect.
Well, I don't know. I guess if you want really strong players at your club, but So since you started off with, when was the first club meeting?
I think like officially when everything was up and online, it would have been sometime in September.
Okay. And then I assume like a weekly thing?
Yeah, we're not actually weekly. We are twice a month. And that's one of my tips of if you're interested in starting a club, do something that's sustainable. The 3 like core original members all have kids. So we decided like, hey, we're not going to be able to meet once a week. Like even twice a month is pushing it for some of us. So it's just twice a month. And that way there's like the population density, like you don't show up and there's no one else there. It's like a thing that people have on their calendars that they look forward to. So
that's funny. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that.
My tip in my experience is like start small.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say because there's this podcast I was listening to, and they were just like bi-weekly meetups should be more of a thing because it's just so much more manageable than weekly meetups. And so if you got a busy life and you're like a weekly commitment might be a little much for me right now, then I think bi-weekly is great. So ever since you started in September, have you been getting the snowball rolling and people have been joining?
I would say so. I have yet to have a time where I show up and I'm the only person there, which is like a huge success in my opinion. But at the same time, we have, so the 3 original members are still showing up. And then we have 2 people who are absolute beginners who I don't think even play like online in between games. They just like show up and play.
Just like club play.
Just club play. Who didn't know the rules beforehand, or I think one of them knew the rules, but like hadn't really had any experience with the game. So that's really fun seeing the new players come. And then we've got a sporadic group of other people who show up sometimes and don't show up other times. So I think on average, we probably have 4 or 5 people who show up. And then like the most we've ever had at one time was 10, which was super cool.
It's like a party at that point.
Yeah.
What surprises me is that you mentioned those players who barely knew the rules, and yet they were seeking out a club to attend.
Yeah, one of them was like a personal friend who just took a shine to the game. And then the other one, I don't really know his story. I know he used to play chess and maybe was just looking for a different type of similar game. But it's fun, like, seeing these brand new beginners come back. And that's something that I think, that's something I like to try to emphasize is, like, learning the game is bizarre and non-intuitive. And you can't really help with that as a teacher. Like, it's going to be hard and non-intuitive, but if you've got a club, you can really try to make a good atmosphere and like make them feel welcome and make them want to come back. So that's what I try to focus on.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And yeah, for sure, when the beginners, they come back a second time, that's a very, very good sign. And so I think that like maybe you may not be able to get that initial rules of the game and mechanics thing for them to fall in love with all that right away. But if you are friendly enough and they have a good time just talking to you like as human beings, then like why would if I'm a new player and I may not fully understand the game, but I like these people, then I might come back just for that. So I think that's definitely a good approach.
Yeah, a couple of things that I try to do intentionally is I try to remember everyone's name, and I actually cheat. I've got a little notebook, and I write their names down. And so then when they come in, I could just look quick, and they'll be like, oh, hey, is it Billy Bob? Yeah, I totally remember your name. But then it makes people feel special, which is great. And then the other thing that I do is if there's an odd number of people, it can be really awkward, especially as a new person. So I always try to be the person who doesn't play when there's an odd number of boards, or like try to do a simul game or something.
Yeah, so you know what?
Like the brand
actually,
new players. Yeah,
when I
they get to play.
Dropped in the Mission Viejo Go Club. I don't remember if it was my first visit or my second visit, but essentially everyone had a partner playing a game, and so Tin just whipped out a board and was like, "Yeah, I'll play you too," and he just put a board down for me, and I was just like playing a simul with him. So it was very good to welcome someone and like not have them just watch for like the very beginning of what they're doing. After a while, after you've kind of gelled with the players a bit, you can get to the point where watching is like an interesting thing. You can talk to each other and things like that. But yeah, for someone new to just kind of like be on the sidelines, it can be very awkward. It's very good that you're noticing these things, and I think it's definitely gonna build into more success for your club. Now you are in the what's it called, board game cafe that you're in. Do you ever get onlookers from other games kind of interested in the game, or do they mostly keep to themselves?
It's never happened. I thought it would have happened at least once, because these are people who are at a board game cafe. You'd think they'd be interested in other board games. So, man, they're just there to play their game and then they're out. But I guess I can't throw stones because I do the same thing.
Right. It's not like you're going to play Magic.
Right. There was a group playing Warhammer the other day, which I don't think I've ever seen in real life. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, yeah. I remember I had a couple friends into Warhammer a long time ago. It's quite cool because there's not just the gameplay aspect, but like the artistic aspect of trying to like make your pieces look cool.
Yeah.
I think one of the issues is that everyone has like a different taste in the spectrum of board games, from Go all the way to Warhammer. I think is like on the complete opposite side.
Right.
In kind of like the Dungeons and Dragons realm. And then you have like in the middle, I think more closer to the Go realm would be the Euro games and then the abstract strategy games. So if you might have like people like come in and to play chess and games like TAC and things like that, then you might be able to convince those people like, hey, this is kind of, what you guys are doing. It's just a little bit more like, the board is kind of big with a lot of grid lines, but after you get over that. But for someone who's playing Magic the Gathering or Warhammer, it might be a little bit of a difficult jump.
Yeah, it's a bit out there, especially if you've never seen it before.
So, do you have like rivalries coming up from bubbling up in your group? Because I know I hear chatter from the MVCO club, and I can see little rivalries bubbling up. Maybe they're not serious rivalries, but I think that's one of the benefits of going to a club is that you can find like human goalposts rather than just the rank number, and I think they feel very different.
Yeah, it's fun. There is one guy, one of the original players, and I just, for whatever reason, our times don't sync up, and I've only ever played him twice. And I've lost both times, and we're about the same skill level, and both games were close. Like one game, he was winning the whole time, and but it ended up being a couple of point game. And then the second one, I was comfortably ahead by about 15 points, and I made just a horrible end game mistake, which I'm sure has only ever happened to me. No one else that's happened.
Definitely hasn't happened to me.
Yeah, of course. And then also there's another guy from out of town. For me, he lives about an hour away, and he's driven a couple of times to play at our club. And I met him first at the tournament, and I've played 4 games against him. The first 3 I lost, and then the fourth one, it was a no game. I played black, and I won by resignation. And I was like, come on, like what? We could have had a Comey, and then I could have said I won an even game, but I've never won an even game against him.
Did you say
either.
four?
So I have 2
four
people
Comey?
who I'm doubting for. Sorry, it was a no Comey game.
Oh, no Comey game. Okay.
Yes, no Comey game. I was black, and I won that one by resignation because I won a big fight. So it wouldn't have mattered if there had been Comey or not. I don't think he would. We're not at the skill level where we're playing the opening moves differently because he had Comey or not.
That is an interesting.
But I still can't say I beat him in an even game.
That's an interesting thing about Comey is that there are games where it just doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
Whether you know, and maybe that first move being black actually matters more than the Komi amount in those specific games.
Absolutely. Especially at our, like not even quite Dawn level gameplay. I would imagine that for the pros or even high level Dawns that it would matter, but for us mere mortals, it doesn't matter for a good amount of games.
Right. But the games it does matter in, oh man, those are intense. When you have to play the end game moves perfectly and every point matters. Yeah, when it goes all the way to the end. But that's why I actually really like those high stakes attacking, someone's gonna die games. But I still am trying to get used to making those games happen.
Yeah, that's a big mental adjustment. Not the attacking part, but for me, I love aggression, and like the players in my club call me out on it. They're like, oh, that's a Wyatt move when I invade too deep. But I've been really trying to come to terms with the idea, like, I only have to win by half a point. Like, I can let them have some stuff. I don't have to win by 20. Just, like, let it go to endgame and play it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is a very difficult mental shift for me.
Yeah, that's also something kind of that I'm working on as well. What's the kind of like skill range of the club right now?
So it's myself, and then those other two players that I talked about are the most skilled. We have an 8Q, I guess he's 7Q now, player, which was one of the original three. And then we've had 3 or 4 people who are like low single-digit Q show up. Mm-hmm. And then we have the handful of brand new beginners. So it's a pretty wide skill spread. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Do you like to play handicap games to balance things out?
Yeah, we do like to do the handicap games. Mm-hmm. For teaching games against brand new beginners, a lot of the times it's easier to play even games, so then we can kind of like talk about how the opening should go and stuff like that. But for the people who are like within 4 or 5 stones of me, definitely we try and play handicap games to keep it exciting.
Mm-hmm. I see. Yeah, handicap games is a different beast because I'm still not super used to them. I've only played them really during tournaments because I'm in the handicap section and got to play a couple handicapped games. So I usually don't get to play a lot of the openings that I've been like wanting to play because the handicap kind of messes things up for me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily for me in my tournament, I played 3 out of my 4 games were even games. But yeah, that would be super vexing if you're planning an opening, you've got like your Joseki picked out, and then you're like, oh, it's a 3-stone game.
Yeah, I think it's like I'm not really like I don't really plan the entire Fuseki or anything, but there are certain Joseki that just don't appear as often in a handicap game. Like it doesn't make as much sense to play them out,
or like any 3-4 Joseki, like exactly. If that's what you've been working on lately.
Exactly. Yeah. 3-4 Joseki is going to be a lot less common. So you mean you can play 3-4s, but then you're never going to be really. I mean, depending on which color you are, but it's going to be harder to approach a 3-4 if your opponent just never plays one, right?
Right.
Yeah. So your club seems to be running pretty healthy, and do you do any other promotion to get the word out for what the club or about the club's schedule?
No, not really. We had one like designated beginners night, kind of when the club started to try and get people who had never played in before. And I think we're probably going to do that again, probably like once a year. But really, the people that we can reach out to are the people that we like personally know in our lives. So it's going to be a lot of the same people coming back for beginners night.
You might want to give the thing a try.
I don't really know
that Sean did, where he just emailed random. See, the thing that he kind of got me with is that he was like, "Oh, we're gonna start a club up around where your area is," and I was like, "Great, that's awesome." And he's like, "But in the meantime, we have this club over here," and I was like, "Okay, I'll check that one out." But yeah, emailing.
I like that.
Emailing random Go players on Paduk.club could be a way. I know it's pretty hard to find. Like if you put up a poster somewhere, it's like I feel like 90% of the people walking by won't even know what it is. Maybe even 100%.
I definitely reached out to all the people who have like profiles on Baduk.club
okay, good.
in the area within like an hour drive, Might
be good to promote, like if you're a Go player out there, you should just at least make a profile on Baduk.club just so that people are aware of how many Go players there are.
If you're listening to this and you don't have a profile, go for it.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And if you're listening to this and you think you could make a club, you should do it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to tell other people that I figured out how to make a club, and it was like way easier than expected. All you have to do is smile, and then the people who show up are people who are interested in Go already. So you don't have to try that hard. You just start playing, and then it's great.
Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. And I always say, like, I love the dedication of Tin when he first started. He was just because he did find Sean right away, and they were able to have like this atomic club as you guys did with the 3 members, and that kind of helps things get going. But if you're alone and you're just the one person, it might feel daunting. But Tin's approach was, he's like, I'm just gonna sit here at this cafe every week and until somebody shows up. And I mean, that was his initial attitude going
admirable.
Yeah, I always liked that. But he didn't have to do it, but he was prepared to do that to just kind of get things going. So it's awesome. Do you have any advice?
That's a step above and beyond.
Do you have any advice or any tips that like maybe you didn't think of when you first started a club? Maybe any hiccups?
I don't know. I feel like I kind of already talked about most of the stuff that I wanted to.
You haven't had any like hiccups or anything like that?
Not really, no. It's been overall pretty good.
That's
I guess
good.
One other thing is, for equipment, I didn't shout this out yet, but Baduk.club has cheap and pretty darn good quality equipment for the amount of money that you spend.
Did you get the foldables?
Like 4 of their... Yeah, I got like 4 of their folding boards and like 3 sets of their stones, and they're super light, super easy to carry in and out, and they work more than good enough.
Yes, they're great.
It's always fun to have a super fancy set, but like if you want to have enough for your whole club, that's the way to do it.
That one is definitely an upgrade from like using coins and rocks and things like that, though. So,
way better than that.
They're good. They're actually really good. They're not like, they're a step up from like, if you imagine like a really cheap set with like really light flimsy stones and like they kind of wobble all over the board, like it's definitely a step up from that. They're very high quality in terms of like what you can get for that money. So I also want to give a shout out to that.
Hugely recommend.
Yeah, I also, I've also thought about starting a club. Just at this point in my life, I don't think I can do it. But one of the things that always gets me is what I mentioned earlier, the venue. Like I want to make sure I choose the right venue and reach out to the right person if I need to do that. I think the easiest is kind of like a park setting, but that's not always ideal if like, there's wind and leaves falling on your Go board and stuff like that. But one day maybe I will open up a club myself so that I don't have to travel all the way to Mission Viejo.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I've never played outside.
Oh, really?
That sounds cool.
It's a good experience.
Yeah, I'm in Minnesota. You can only do that in the summer, of course.
Yeah. I have played outside with my fiance a couple times. It's definitely a different feeling to like be out in nature and play.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
It's awesome that you.
And now I want to do like a summer promo.
Oh, that'd be great.
Outside day,
like an outside day. Like if it's not like sustainable every week, but like just every once in a while.
Some grass.
Yeah, just touch some grass while you play Go. Of course. So I want to maybe shift topics here for a bit. You mentioned that you do some Brazilian Jiu-jitsu.
Did I say that? When?
Okay, maybe I misinterpreted this acronym. BJJ?
Oh, no. I mean, no, that's what I do. I just don't. Did I send you this in a text?
Oh, you do that. Oh, you sent me that in your initial email that you sent me.
Yes.
Okay, so you do that, but you didn't remember telling. I was like, I'm psychic.
Yeah, I definitely do. I was just like, I don't remember talking about this. Yes, I do Brazilian Jiu-jitsu. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned you noticed there were similarities between that and Go. You want to speak to that a bit?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the similarities are from the perspective of the beginner, where you're walking in and everyone else in the room knows what they're talking about, and you're at the bottom of the mountain, and learning kind of sucks. Like, you're just going to lose over and over and over again unless someone lets you win for years. Like, that's the reality. Like, unless another new person walks into the room, you're just going to lose. And it's really humbling, and like you get to learn the same lessons in different arenas, I think, for both of those activities.
It's very interesting. I don't have any experience with that. My only exposure to martial arts is Taekwondo that I did as a kid, and it's definitely not a... I know that, the public image of Taekwondo is like a very competitive, like Olympic sport type of thing. But in practice, when you teach little kids like Taekwondo, it's not really like that. It's very de-emphasized on the competition, more on the discipline, and you learn patterns and you just kind of learn the kicks, you learn the moves, but it's not really like, oh, okay, now you're going to fight this kid and we're going to see who wins. That's really reserved for like special days, at least in my experience, like during exam days, or maybe we have a sparring day every now and then. But am I mistaken in saying Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, you just kind of go in and you just fight, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a grappling art. So it's similar to wrestling. So obviously with striking, if you go hard, you're going to injure each other. There's no way around it. But with grappling, you can go relatively hard without hurting each other. And you can go over and over and over again. So basically, for almost every Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, at the end of the day, there'll be some sort of sparring or rolling where you're basically going live and seeing who's going to win. And like, we try to keep it playful. We try, like, you try and like enjoy, like, keep a learning mindset, just the same as Go. Like, if you're really good at Go and you're playing a new person, you don't just crush them and then make them feel bad about themselves. But like, it's still the same experience where when you are the new person, the only way you win is if the more experienced person lets you,
Do you think that having
Does that
this
make sense?
Yeah, that for sure. Do you think that having this experience in both Go and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where you know where you start off at the bottom rung, does that make it easier for you to approach other new things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just having it such a raw experience of like, the only way to learn is to fail over and over again is like such a life lesson just from both of those. You can learn this in so many different aspects, but for me, those are like my two hobbies that, like the way to learn is you try it and then it doesn't work and you don't know why and you have to figure it out. And that's just like really encapsulates life. You're never going to be good at anything the first time you try it. So I think that's one of the really cool lessons about Go.
Yeah, I think that Go really makes it clear just how much you need to learn in order to get good at something. Because I think when you first play Go, you instantly realize just how deep the game is and how complicated it can get. Like, as a beginner, as a double-digit Q player, putting down your first stone, getting captured on the first line, you just realize like, oh man, this is really hard and there's a lot of stuff I need to learn before I get good at this game. And then as you learn even more. With other things that may not be as apparent. Like I can't think of any examples right now, but when you start with something, you may just look at it and go like, oh, I don't know why I'm not getting this. Like it should be easy. Like I'm just swinging a tennis racket. I'm swinging a baseball bat, whatever. It's a very simple thing. I don't understand why I suck at this. And so I think knowing that and then just having that experience of learning Go for the first time and seeing how deep the knowledge goes, it opens up your head into thinking like, oh, everything is kind of like this. Like everything you start off at 30Q, right? You shouldn't expect to be one done at everything like right away. And I think that's definitely a good lesson to learn because I can definitely see a lot of the people who may be frustrated with Go and don't go on with it seem to stick to maybe only things that they think that they can do right away. But if you can stick with Go and you can learn and get into it and realize just how much it takes to learn something, it can definitely help you in other areas of life where things may just seem challenging at first, but you realize, oh, I just have to stick with it a little longer and soak it in and let my mind and body adjust to whatever this weird thing is.
Absolutely. And a big part of the frustration, I think, is that the learning loop is so unclear as a beginner. Like you don't understand what you need to do to get better. You don't even understand if you made a mistake or not. Or if you did, was it move 20 or was it move 3, you know? Like which one of these was the mistake? Mm-hmm. And that's something I think is so hard as a beginner is you're trying to figure out how could you not have gotten captured here when it's like you needed to play a different move 15 moves ago. Like at this point it's too late. And that is kind of like just a difficult pill to swallow a lot of the time. Just like, what do I need to do better here? It's like, well, you just needed to have not made a mistake earlier. Mm-hmm. That's so hard. And like, that's so true to life too, a lot of the times. Like if it's exam time and you're like, hey, professor, I don't understand this stuff. I'd do anything to pass your class. And they're like, well, you should have just studied like a month ago. It's so true. Like you just have to learn how to be disciplined and like do things right from the start.
And then you go on vacation, you come back, same cycle starts over again, and then you ask again. They're like, you should have studied. So
yeah, for real.
Yeah. Yeah, that's difficult. The whole feedback loop thing for Go is definitely one of the biggest challenges. But one of the great things about being a beginner is that you don't have to focus too hard on what you need to do right. You mostly just have to play a lot more games and just expose yourself.
Just play games.
Mm-hmm. Because that's going to buff out a lot of your issues without you even really trying too hard. You know, when you have things at a very high level in pretty much anything, every little thing matters. Like every hour of sleep matters. Every little, like the way you plan your day, and when you're at the highest level of Go, every point like 1 point matters astronomically. But until you get there, it's like you have a lot of beginner gains to be made. Like it's like going to the gym. Like, you know, when you're first starting out, you don't exercise and you don't have like kind of experience doing anything like that. Just starting will be massive for you. And that's what's so exciting about being a beginner is like you just kind of start learning because that's just how our brains work. We just start doing something and it starts to pick up and you just start learning. Then after a while, you realize there are some challenges. You do have to think critically. You do have to prepare and you have to adjust your habits and realize that you have certain misunderstandings. That does get challenging eventually. But at that point, I feel like you're a Go player and you know what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I was kind of a beginner watching a streamer who was a high-level Don, and they made a 7-point mistake, and they were freaking out about it. They're like, 7 points, that's Comey. Like, that's such a big mistake. I can't believe I had that big of a mistake. And I remember thinking at the time, like, man, I wish I could make only 7-point mistakes. Like,
was that in a review?
The difference between it. Yeah, they were reviewing their own game. It was like an end game mistake. And so they could actually, like it was before AI, you know, so that he actually had to count the end game value of the points.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's old school.
Yeah. But yeah, when you're beginner, 7-point mistakes, those happen every other move. Who cares?
Yeah, you just kind of have to flip through like 7-point, okay, whatever, 5-point, whatever, and then you get to the 20-point. You're like, all right, got to work on this.
Yeah. What's special about this one?
All right. So kind of bringing this conversation to a close. Before I do so, I want to ask you what I asked Tin and Sean, the rapid fire question set that I have. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Black or white?
Black.
9x9, 13x13, or 19x19?
19x19.
4x4 or 3x4?
Oh, actually, I have just switched to 3/4 because I just lost 4 games in a row where I played 4/4s and I was winning, and I was thinking to myself, "Oh, I'm comfortably winning." And then, like at the very last moment, they invaded my 3/3. They scooped out way too much of my territory, and I lost. Now I'm sick of this. I'm doing 3/3.
All right, you're a 3/4 convert. Never. Okay.
Forever.
Forever. Okay, we'll see about that. Online or over the board?
Over the board is just so much more fun. That being said, online as I'll try to gather my thoughts here. I'm struggling. Over the board is way more fun, a lot better vibes. However, online is more exciting because you're playing even games and like your rating is on the line. And like for me, I like to play.
Maybe over the board competition
like,
is what
trying to get better.
Or is what where you're at.
Yeah, over the board tournament would be ideal, but like yeah.
Byoyomi or Fisher?
Fisher. I played in my tournament. The only time I played Fisher was like in real life tournament. It's just so much better. Like you are actually incentivized for playing fast, and then if you build up a bank of time, you can spend it on the moves that matter instead of like burning through it in the first in the Fusaki when like it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, you know what, I would love to have a Byoyomi versus Fisher debate here, but I think most people I talk to are really Fisher sided. So if there's any passionate Byoyomi defenders, I'd love to see a debate like that.
I would love it if they put Fisher on Fox. That would be my dream come true.
I thought I saw something about that, that you could choose. I'm kind of scared of the navigation on Fox, but I swear I read something recently about Fisher being an option.
I don't speak Chinese.
Neither do I. Do you have a favorite pro?
I want to say Yi Chang-ho. Because like just the idea of being the stone Buddha and being unperturbed and just like being so good that you just let your opponents take whatever they want and then you just like win anyways is so cool. But like at the same time, I know I could never do that. Like I enjoy the fighting too much.
Yeah, a lot of the Korean pros, I think, like I grew up just idolizing Lee Chang-ho, so solid choice for sure. Yeah. Favorite Go book?
Life and Death by James Davis.
Oh, I haven't even cracked that one open. I got to check that one out.
That was just like where I learned all of the basic life and death shapes. It's got like the rabbity 6 and the top hat 4 and it was just like, I think I ordered it from Kasaido and it got shipped from Japan back when I was in like high school. And it was just like, it like opened up a new world of possibilities in terms of life and death shapes for me.
It's definitely one I have to add to my collection. Resign respectfully or hope for a mistake?
I hope for a mistake.
Oh, nice.
unless it's a club game, in which case I'll resign. But if it's on Fox or if it's in a tournament, I'm playing that out. There you go.
That's the fighting spirit. Attack or defense? I think I know the answer to this one.
Attack.
Yeah. There you go. Blitz or long games?
Yeah. I like Blitz games better, and I have a reason for this. It's not just because I don't like to think. It's because I think that it's important to get a high volume of games, and I don't have enough time in my life to play a high volume of long games. I think to myself, if I have an hour and a half, I could play 3 Blitz games and review them, or I could play 1 long game and review it. And I think like I'm still at the point where I just need more volume in order to improve.
That's kind of where I'm at. Also, if you sometimes the long game, like it's just not a good learning game, and you spent a long time on it and not many lessons from it.
Right.
But there are definitely benefits to long games too. Favorite Go variant?
Gomoku. I'm going to get my toddler to play with me one day.
Gomoku. I don't know if that counts as a Go variant.
That I don't know. I've only ever played Go.
Oh, okay. You haven't played the variants? Like, have you played Rengo?
No. Oh, I've never played any variant. However, I'm just thinking of the Nick Sabicki hidden move Go. Have you ever seen any of those? That is at least entertaining as a viewer.
That is definitely entertaining. I still have yet to play it, so I would like to play it, but usually when you meet up for Go, you play Go, and then if you have time, maybe you'll play a variant or two. Single convex or double convex?
I like both. I've never had a nice set of single convex stones. So for that reason, I'll say double convex, because all of the nice stones I've ever seen have been double convex.
The nice single convex stones, I think, are the Yunzi ones. So you need to know someone.
Yeah, I would just love to see a set of that in real life. I think the green, like, glass with the light behind it would look so cool, but...
Influence or territory?
Maybe I'll get to I'm going to say that since I switched from playing 4/4s to 3/4s, that my answer needs to be territory.
Okay, got it. Playing to improve or playing for fun?
I think those are the same thing. I like to play to improve, and for me, getting better is like a large part of the fun. And that's why it's like, it's a good thing to do, because even as like an adult, well, I mean, like, there's a lot of things you can get better as an adult, but for me, it's super fun to see myself improve.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see things. And then last but not least, favorite Go proverb?
Favorite Go proverb? Kane at the head of 2 stones.
That's a solid one. That's definitely one that I see a lot of weaker players ignoring.
Yeah, because then that can lead to cuts, which is the part of the game that's fun.
Oh, yeah. Alrighty. Well, I really enjoyed our conversation. I think that we actually could have talked about a lot more. And I'm thinking...
Absolutely, yeah. This was super fun.
Really thankful to have you on the show. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. Do you want to shout out your club name or anything?
It's just the Duluth Go Club. We live in a city named Duluth. So if anyone is in northeastern Minnesota, you can come. It's the first and third Wednesdays of every month at the Lock Game Store, LOCH.
Awesome. Hopefully somebody hears this and goes and joins you. If they do, let me know, because I'd love to hear that. The show has that'd be sweet. To the growth of the club. Well, anyway, thanks so much, Wyatt, for coming on the show again. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
It's always one of the nice things about having a hobby of any sort. When you find somebody who partakes in the same hobby, you can connect and start talking about random stuff related to it. And I thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Wyatt, so thanks again. And after our call, he graciously thanked me for doing this podcast, and it's really no big deal, but definitely cool guy, Wyatt, for coming on the show. So thank you again, Wyatt. But now it's time for the DDK Advice Corner, and the tip of the day is resign. Resign already. Well, okay, be careful with this tip of the day because this is only for a select number of you. I normally suggest don't ever resign, and maybe that'll be another tip, but this tip is specifically if you are playing every single game to the very bitter end, and you kind of know what the result is, but you just feel like you want to play every single game all the way to the end. I would say that may not be the best use of your time. You need to get a certain amount of reps in. You do definitely need to play certain games to the end so that you can get some end game practice as well. But if you're playing a game where the game has become meaningless after move 200 and you're going into the 300s every time, that's probably not going to be the most productive way to spend your time. Time is money. You could be playing a game where you're learning something else. So be judicious, but if you know that there's no more left to learn from the game and you've definitely lost the game, I would advise you resign, play your next game. You don't have to finish every single game to that bitter end. And now it's time for listener mail. Merrick writes, "Hey Justin, thank you for the great insights with your answers from Don Player's episode 89, especially the first question, what to do when there's nothing to do on the board, was golden. Such precious advice. Thank you very much, and thank you to the Don Players that answered these questions." Yeah, there's not much to thank me about, so thank you to the Don Players who answered those questions, passing that along from Merrick here. In the same episode, you told us that you wish to play more bold and tanuki more. There's a video from Go Magic which covers this exact topic. I don't know if you already saw it, but here's the link. Okay, and as always, I will share this link in the description as well, and I will check it out because that is a cool topic. In short, the concept, which is explained in the video, goes like this. Ask yourself, if I had 2 additional stones/moves elsewhere on the board, are they worth more than my group which is threatened? Why 2 moves? The first move of your opponent is the threat. Your first move is the tanuki. The second move of your opponent is the kill. Your second move is the move after the kill. This explanation opened my eyes and I play much better since. Keep up the good work and don't play puppy go. Best regards, Merrick. Thanks, Merrick, for the advice. That actually I've definitely heard and thought about during my games. It's not always easy to bring that to the front of my mind in the actual game, but it makes a lot of sense. And it also kind of ties into some advice that really changed the way I play back when I was around the 10Q level, which is the fact that a threat, this, I don't know, I think to higher level players it's obvious, and to lower level players too, when I explain this, it'll seem obvious, but it's something that a lot of people overlook, which is that when somebody is threatening you, right? If you're the one attacking or your opponent is attacking, there's a move that looks very threatening. You have to follow through with a thought there and imagine they get one more move, and how catastrophic is it? Sometimes that first move looks quite threatening, but you add one more move and you realize, wait a second, I'm still not dead. I'm still not losing too much after a second move given to my opponent, or even after my opponent passes or tanukis, my second move or follow-up doesn't do too much. Was that first move really an attack? Was it really a threat? It kind of puts into perspective what that first move really is doing. And then once you realize, oh, if I give them another move, you know, that's actually okay. Then you don't have to answer. But that's kind of like the beginner level. And then the second level is this whole thing where you value that response as equal to 2 moves elsewhere on the board. And 2 moves is a lot. And so to get 2 moves somewhere else on the board is kind of a huge thing. And to be able to value that and weigh that with your response to a supposed sente move, it can really open your eyes. So thanks again, Merrick, for that reminder. And then Eric writes, "Hello, it's Eric Lee again, not the top U.S. amateur. I love that you've embraced this this kind of subtitle for yourself. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, there is a top, very strong U.S. amateur. I've actually seen him at a tournament a couple times, I think. But he's a very strong U.S. amateur, and he was vying for a pro position, and I don't know if it was like a couple of the past pro qualifications in NA, but his name is Eric Lee, and this Eric Lee has been writing in and has to always clarify that he's not that Eric Lee. I had a few busy weeks, but I wanted to give you my answers to these questions, not just straightforwardly, but also trying to understand what you might be wanting to know by asking this question and answering that. Okay, great. So this is in response to the answer or questions for Dawn players from a few episodes ago. So bonus answers from Dawn players coming up right here from Eric. I know you got a lot of responses, including from players who are stronger than I am, and the episode is already out, but I wanted to respond anyway. Very, very welcome to, so I'm excited to hear more advice. Even if you don't end up sharing this stuff on the podcast, hopefully these answers are of some value to your personal growth and development as a Go player. Well, that's very kind of you. What do you do when there's nothing to do on the board? This is a really interesting question because at the moment, I never feel that there's nothing to do on the board until the game is over. I think that it's important to get to the root cause of the issue here. Why do you feel there's nothing to do? I feel that there are a lot of assumptions I could make about what your thought process might be, but it may just be easier if you could send me a few SGFs of what you mean. If the board is settled, there are still candidate moves for the early end game, right? There are often very clear moves that are left behind from the opening that can be done later on, or moves to develop potential or erase potential in the center of the board, right? It's hard for me to think of a situation when there's nothing to do. And I think that if this is how you feel, we may have identified a problem with your current level of board evaluation or your criteria for candidate move choice. This is completely fixable, of course. You just have to find this issue and see it as a problem that must be fixed. Well, if you'd be so kind enough to look at my SGFs, I would be glad to send you a couple. So I may do that, but I need to sift through my games because I just kind of remember feeling this way, but I don't have any examples on hand. So I'll either play more games until I feel that again, or I'll look at my previous SGFs and see when I feel that. But basically, in a nutshell, how I feel about this situation is, I think usually, okay, obviously if there's something weak on the board, you can attack it, you can make it uncomfortable, or if there's something weak on my end, I can make it more stable and do something that tries to settle it. This is for when everything is settled, nothing really to attack, nothing really pressuring, and all of the moves, basically I can think of candidate moves, right? Everything does have value, but everything seems too small, and I feel like I'm missing something. Anyway, I'll see if I can find some SGFs to send you. Next question, do stronger players ever play moves just to erase Aji? A lot of this is very case-by-case basis, I think. Of course, if I'm winning by an amount that I feel I can afford to fix my own problem, I will do that. I call such moves like that a declaration of victory. Yeah, I'm so averse to playing those kinds of moves, but I've tried to train myself into playing them more when I am very much winning and I'm trying to erase all doubt. And I think I like that name for it, declaration of victory. But in most close games, you rarely have the luxury to do that, and so you have to weigh the amount you stand to lose from the Aji versus the amount you gain by playing a proactive move. I think this is a matter of judgment, but in most cases, I think I would tend not to fix. Anyway, again, these last two questions are questions related to judgment and evaluation, and these are skills that have to be cultivated. That's something I definitely learned a lot from the Answers from Dan Players episode, that a lot of the questions I asked are questions that strong players ask themselves and just have better judgment than I do about those questions. So it's just something, yes, exactly, like that have to be cultivated. What approach has been more successful to you? Trying to squeeze every last bit of value out of each stone, or playing good enough moves for a more solid overall game? Again, this is a really interesting question because to someone in the mid-amateur dans trying to improve, the idea of good enough is a bit strange. I found myself pushing for efficiency and trying to get any edge I can. Isn't Go about trying to play the best move you can think of to the best of your ability? Yeah, that's always how I've approached the game. I've never really thought about, like, is this good? Is this just good enough? Is this just average enough? But I had this hunch that maybe that playing more of those kind of conservative good enough moves could be a direction of development for me, so that's why I kind of asked the question. I recently had a discussion with a Q player at my club who struggles with anxiety during games. In a recent game he sent me with his own comments attached, he remarked that he chose a move that he knew wasn't great, but playable at this level because it was familiar and comfortable. I noted that one of his strengths in the game is that he's been working on his own ability to objectively judge a position and have a mental evaluation of who's better, and compared to the people at his level, he usually has a more accurate judgment. The problem is, when he tries to play moves that lead him into unfamiliar territory, he gets anxious and has a tendency to blunder in later middle game, which leads to a collapsed position. Okay, interesting. I told him that while I can understand and relate to the idea of playing moves you're familiar with, in the long run, I think he's doing himself a disservice. He has already developed something that is better than the people around him. He has judgment as a weapon. He also likes learning sequences that he can use to obtain objectively favorable positions. I recommend that he should play what he thinks is best so that he can develop experience in these situations and work on methods to deal with anxiety as it pops up within games. Sticking to comfort and familiarity over what you feel is objectively best, especially in games that don't matter, non-tournament, is a recipe for growth stagnation, in my opinion. I totally agree. I have been trying to force myself to do this as well, where if I have a move that's I'm not so comfortable with, but I feel like that's my opinion. Like, when on the board, if I were to express an opinion of what I think should be played on the board and I can't find any good reason not to play it, then I generally tend to play it. Now, this has a caveat though. For me, I stretch my value and I like to play thin because I just want more. And I've been in multiple situations recently where I look at a move and I'm like, this looks like I'm asking too much, but I don't see why. Let me just play it, and then sure enough, later on I get punished for it. And I'm learning to trust my gut in those situations. Like, oh, this feels like I'm going a little too thin, extending a little too far. And I think I'm gonna try to play something a little more solid. And that's why a lot of the flavor of my questions is asking about, like, you know, when should you reel it in and kind of not do that all the time, because I've paid for it. Next question. Oh, I think I had something else to say about the mental evaluation of who's better. That is such a strong skill that I have learned from all the answers from Don players. A lot of them stressed in a lot of the questions that it depends on who's better and what the state of the board is. So that's something that I always want to try to get better at, and something I never really thought about before. My primary method for doing that was always just how each of the local exchanges in my gut felt throughout the game, and just think about, like, oh, I've been feeling like I've been gaining a lot of advantages, and that's why I feel like I'm better. That's not always right, but it's a good kind of starting point. What's a good thought process to follow when you feel like you're in a catch-22 situation in a game? It's similar to not being able to find the answer to a tsumego. You know a solution probably exists. You haven't found it. You can't sit here and use infinite time on it. I think at some point you just have to accept that you will go back and review the situation later and play a move now. The great thing is that we have AI analysis now, and we can always go back after the game and see what we missed. That's a very rational approach. And I guess my question is pretty vague in that, like, I didn't explain, like, what an exact situation specifically is happening that's causing the catch-22, so you can't advise me any other way. So that's definitely the best answer I could hope for. How do you know when you can leave a group alone and not save it? Okay, this is something that I think is becoming less and less clear to me, but also more and more open as I watch/study more pro games and look at more AI analysis. It feels like pros and AI save things when they have to. And the definition of have to gets more and more blurry as you get stronger. Sometimes a group has a bunch of Aji associated with killing it. What are the forcing moves? What can you gain out of it once it's dead? Yet another judgment question. I feel that there's a pattern here. Do you ever want a game review? Yes, I do. Yeah, a lot of the judgment stuff, like, that's kind of where I get stuck. It's like, when I know what I have to do, and I'm like, this group is I have to kill this group, or like, I have to save this group, I have to win by endgame, I can get zoned in and I feel in flow. But when I don't know and I feel like not confident in my judgment, then yeah, definitely. And then the have to thing for AI and pros, that's when everything's just confusing, because you watch something like that and they leave these giant groups alone and you're like, am I not seeing that it's alive, or do they not care about it? I can never tell. Have you ever noticed a spike in improvement after taking a break from Go? Or have you experienced rust after a break? I think that while my mindset and approach to Go might change after a break for the better, I do feel like my ability to judge, calculate, and be sharp, especially under pressure, gets worse. I think some skills rust, and even if my big picture understanding of the game feels better or more clear. Yeah, that's definitely something I've seen happen in not just Go, but other games as well. It's like the technical, nitty-gritty, like, scrappiness is the part that rusts, but then your overall picture of the thing is still there, and so you just have to sharpen your tools again. What are you personally not understanding or hoping to improve in your game at your level? I think I need more accurate judgment as well as sharper and faster reading skills, because I am trying to be more efficient and get more out of the moves I'm playing. This necessitates being more flexible and being comfortable with a wider range of position types than I was previously. Currently, I've been trying to do more Guan. I've reached 4 Dan on 108 Wei Chi, but that's with infinite time and 2 tries, very fraudulent on problems. I'm still trying to pass the 1 Dan Guan, and it's a refreshing kind of grind in my opinion. You have to use your thinking time more efficiently, and I think it's one of the best ways to improve calculation. Guan, I don't know if I've really familiarized myself with that term. Is it like time sumego basically? It's kind of what I'm assuming from the way you phrased it. If you're looking to try it out and you haven't yet, I'd recommend the app Weiqi Hub. It's free and has Guan built right in. It's a great way to get some Guan in before bed or in the morning or whenever you have a sec. I highly recommend it. Okay, I'll have to see if that's available on iOS. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and we're like halfway through, so it's quite a long, and I think a lot of this stuff is super interesting. I definitely want to read the rest. I'm gonna reserve the rest of this response for next week, so look forward to that. Dravenak writes, I just got back into Go after 10 years, and your podcast is really helping out. Thank you so much. That's great. I love that. It's helping ease the transition into Go again. It's awesome that you got back into Go. Ben Kyo, hey Ben Kyo, writes, I really need to catch up on these. I just haven't had the time lately for long podcasts and lack of activities that it can be multitasked with. Yes, I understand. Like, you need like a regular thing. Like, for me, it's driving, and if I stop driving, then I may not have as much time for podcasts. Metal Squirtle. This is in reference to the tip that I got from Simple Baduk to hold something in my hand while I play, and I held a metal turtle in my hand. Yes, it's a great idea to train at keeping your hand off the Pikachu. Okay, I'll stop. And especially to question the moves you might think are automatic or obvious too. I got a kick out of that because I am super into Pokemon right now. And then reply to Score Estimator. SE is especially sinister on Fox. SE. Never heard it called that. I've been told that players during a game get an intentionally imperfect version of her. I too have lost games with partial blame on SE, really myself. You could even see in certain Twitch streams of mine, checked and talked about it with chat after, that I thought I was ahead, checked SE, she said I was behind, so I did go out with the bang stuff in the late game instead of losing peacefully. I recommend this. Only to learn after that I was indeed ahead as I thought. There are all kinds of reasons not to use SE, and I don't personally agree with the advice to use it a lot. Go teachers are going to disagree on all sorts of things though, so that's fine. Yeah, I understand that totally, and there, you hear from one strong player like you have to do this, and then another strong player will be like, no, you don't have to do that. So it's whatever works for you. I have not used it, so I've never really tried it out myself. I always felt weird about using it, but I was open to it. That's why I kind of tried to use it, and then I failed miserably. But I may have been using it wrong. But it seems like you seem knowing how to use it right. You still ran into some issues, so I'll be wary of that for sure. Thanks for writing in, Ben Kyo. Tyron Evan Bakel, hope I said that right, writes, I'm still only up to episode 14. I feel like I'm cheating listening to this, haha. I'm actually surprised people try to listen from the very beginning. I never meant this to be like this thing that people binge from episode 1 all the way up to here. I thought people would just tune in to the latest. That's something that I do. I kind of like content that's been freshly made. I don't know why, but that's just what I would do. I think if it were me, I would probably just go from the latest episode, and then if I was waiting for the next one and I had nothing else, I would go back to episode 1 or something like that. But anyway, Sadaharu writes, to answer your question on what I meant by correct moves, they are simply moves said to be correct by the teacher or written as correct in the books. Before the AI era, or even before the internet era, just knowing and remembering more correct moves than your opponent will give you a big advantage. Nowadays, anyone can just open their AI and check what are the correct moves, and the idea of correctness is also different from last time, since many moves don't drop as much percentage as we thought. However, I still think it's still good to know and remember some common shapes to reduce the amount of time you need to think, but it's important to simply use that as a starting point, not just deem that is the only way to play. Yeah, that's the thing that's tricky about correct moves. I know what you mean, and I was actually reading in Lessons in the Fundamentals of Go. There was a page when Kageyama's like, don't even think about it, just play this move, this is right. And it really inspired me to play that move more. Obviously, I'm not going to play it in every situation, and that's the thing that's tricky about it, is that all these correct moves are either shown on a board with a specific board position, or it's a localized, zoomed in thing without any other consideration. So it's just really hard to tell when you're allowed to play that, but it's a good guiding light, I guess. Thanks for writing in. Deep Emulsion says, I asked Z for some clarification on the score estimation he talks about, and he said I could share his reply. Awesome, thank you for doing that. Z, Simple Baduk. If you have a moyo of some sort, Fox gives you an extremely optimistic estimation. If it says you are 30 points ahead, then you are probably only 10 points ahead, actually. A lot of people think they're ahead by a lot, so they play safer moves and back off everywhere to find out they are losing the game. People below 7 Dan Fox are terrible at endgames, so not trusting that optimistic result and playing for the best move is probably the better way to play until you actually know endgame. A huge misconception about endgame is that people think endgame happens at the end of the game, but all the big endgame moves are played in the middle game, and it requires a lot of studying of shapes and Tesujis. So it is almost impossible for cube players to be good at the endgame, so we should work on Fuseki and early game more to gain huge advantages early on and play with a safe net. Insightful answer about the endgame. Yeah, I always hear discussion of very, very, very strong players with the discussion of endgame, and endgame is such an important aspect as you get stronger. As far as the estimation and the overblown estimate of the Moyo and framework type stuff, that's why I, even in my experiment to use SE, as Ben Kyo called it, I can't bring myself to use it until late middle game. Like, I just can't. I don't see any purpose in using it before that when it's estimating huge swaths of framework. I just can't do it. I can't trust it. I just don't, even if it gave me a solid answer, that's like a reasonable answer, I know the situation will change, so I just wouldn't be able to rely on that. So anyway, that's awesome. Thanks for relaying Z's reply to me. So that's great to hear. So keep staying tuned for the next half of Eric's email with more answers from Dom players. Excited to read those. But that is listener mail for today. So the question of the week is, have you started or gone to a club ever? Or do you do it regularly? What made you do that? What first made you go out to the club? Not like a nightclub, but like the Go Club. What made you do that at first, or what made you inspired to start a club? If you want to share your thoughts on that, or you have any other Go story or question to share, leave a comment wherever you found this episode, or email me directly at starpointpaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you're a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe, and if you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very special thank you to James B., Tristan, and Jeff H. for supporting Starpoint. If you want to support the show in any capacity, you can go to ko-fi.com/starpointpaduk. That's KO-FI. Or go check out all the stuff at the Starpoint store at store.starpointpaduk.com. You know what Go players keep in their koi ponds? Go fish. Thanks for listening. Keep playing Go.